Welcome back to Vivid Noise. We're still going through the Hot Wheels Cup in Hot Wheels Turbo Racing for the N64, and it just occurred to me that I completely forgot to talk about the power-ups in this game during the last episode. I briefly mentioned them, but I didn't actually, talk about them properly. So before I get into my other two talking points for this video, which will be about two games which I actually have recently really developed an appreciation for, but they just wouldn't really work for this format of video, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to go over to pickups. And yes, I'm calling them pickups actually because I feel like it's a more accurate description. See, what's really interesting about the pickups in Hot Wheels Turbo Racing is the fact that they're passive. Unlike, 90% of arcadey racing games from this time, no, I can't really think of any. I mean, I'm sure they exist, right? There's probably plenty of games that also have power-ups like this, but my exposure to kart racers from the 90s primarily is, hey, it's Mario Kart and Crash Team Racing, and then in the 2000s it was like, yo, Sonic All-Stars is kind of really good. But anyway, I might do that for this series, actually. I fucking love that game. And Transform, and I like Team Sonic Racing too. But, yeah, the pickups in this game, they're essentially just upgrades to your vehicle. I think I already mentioned that one of them is a 4x4 pickup, which gives your car an attribute which some cars in the game have by default, the more SUV type vehicles, but that's not the only one. There's also this icon that's like these really gritty looking tires which improve your car's grip. And of course, in one of the stages that I did last episode, you always pick one up at literally the exact point on the track where you wish you had it for if you were to take a different pathway. Like, I think you know what I'm talking about. It's during the first race, during Dawn Encounters. If you take the right pathway, you hit this ramp, and there's this this narrow pathway where you get slowed down because your car, unless it has the 4x4, I think, because I believe there's some overlap between the abilities. But for the most part, almost every car gets slowed down there, and I imagine it wouldn't if it had the tire ability. And yet if you take the left path, which is perfectly smooth, and you don't get slowed down, you do get it. So it's like, well, anyway, what I've picked up just now, actually, and just lost, and just got a nitrous. Yeah, the blue ones are nitruses. Those are, well, nitrous turbo, self-explanatory. You get some more turbo, right? But the that suspension-looking thing, that orange tube, it doesn't make sense for it to be a shock or anything like that. It'd make more sense for it to be like a turbocharger or something, because what it does is that it increases your top speed to 180, which is I assume the engine limit of the game. I imagine, because with most racing games, the only reason that cars have a set top speed isn't just, well, because that's how it is in real life. No, it's actually because the game engine, not the car's engine, the game engine just can't render any faster than that. That's actually been a pretty big concern with, most Sonic games, because he's kind of fast, and that's why it took so long for his games to really harness that speed, right? Like, it took until the freaking Hedgehog engine for him to be able to go as fast as I imagine developers probably wanted him to be able to, and he definitely used to be able to in 2D. Like 2D Sonic at least appeared to be much faster in, the Genesis games and stuff, compared to then, I guess, Sonic R and then Sonic Adventure. He was still pretty fast, but, we were limited to mid to late 90s rendering and CPU. So, with the horsepower of the Xbox 360 whopping however many megabytes of RAM, they were able to pull it off at 20 FPS or something. But regardless, what I'm talking about is that, yeah, your car, your car's speed just gets boosted, and I swear it also increases your acceleration. Like, it makes it easier for you to get to 180. Another pickup that I think showcased in the last video. I mean, I'm showcasing all of them because, it's in the footage, but I actually did mention it, was the purple sort of gyro ball looking thing. It's essentially, yeah, it makes sense to call it a gyro sphere or whatever. What it does is it boosts your car's stunting ability. It essentially turns every car in the game into the go-kart, which is pretty much the best stunting car in the game. It just flips, you know, all over the fucking place super easily. A lot of other cars in the game are very stiff in midair, which is by design, I imagine. You know, it's not some limitation, clearly. There it is, yeah. So you're seeing it right now. And that's what it does. What else was there as far as pickups go? There was okay, I already mentioned the 4x4. The gyro, the boost. The brakes. Yeah. Really weird thing to have as a power-up, but it is genuinely useful. There's this pickup, right, that essentially it's like this brake disc, and it's just mega brakes. You just brake really hard. Your car just stops instantly. And that actually is, that can give you a strategic advantage with certain corners because of, again, the game's track design. It has this sort of very loopy sort of quality to it, and you go all over the place, and whoop, I just finished that event. And now, I think I've actually gone over all of the pickups. I mean, there's obviously turbo, I just mentioned that one, the blue canister thing. I have no idea what that's supposed to be. Who's willing to bet that's literally just some generic plastic water bottle model they found somewhere on, you know, 1999 freaking AOL or something, and they just used that. Oh wait, there it is. Yeah, I've almost forgot to talk about two other pickups, and then we'll get to Test Drive Unlimited. I want to talk about that game. I just got done playing it, actually. Yeah, so the hammer, and there's also this like purple toxic touch. I don't know if they have names. Maybe they did in the manual, because I totally own the manual for this game, because I absolutely have a physical copy that I purchased with real money off eBay. Don't tell Nintendo. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, the hammer basically just makes your car invincible. It instantly KOs any. See, there you go. There's the purple thing. I just missed it, of course. But the hammer basically just makes your car invincible and destroys everything. Well, I know it doesn't make you invincible to damage, but it deals damage to other opponents. And I really love the way it's placed on this track in particular, because the way you kind of get sent back down and you just take everyone out, which is especially cathartic when you've got a car that generally isn't the strongest, because yes, every car has its own durability stat, which is why the dragster was kind of infamous. I remember back to Blade and Lightning, Einstein Shreds, he jokingly used the dragster for the Twin Mill Challenge, which I'm going to be doing later, and obviously didn't get very far because the car has like no stats other than speed. No, I remember back then I used to actually try and prove him wrong. I got pretty decent at using the dragster, but it's not a very beginner friendly car. It's very much a glass cannon kind of car. Yeah, and that's it for the power-ups. I don't really have to talk about the purple one, because it's literally the exact same. It's copy-paste. I don't know why it exists. There's just two of the same item in this game, which, okay, you know, fine. I don't really understand why they did it. Redundancy. Maybe it was gonna have a different function, but then they couldn't implement it for some reason. Maybe it was gonna act like the bomb or something from Revolt, where you pass it on to them. I don't know. It's too abstract for me. Look at it. You're seeing at it right now. Never seeing the hammer, but it's literally just some freaking purple spheres in an SGI graphics computer, whatever rendering that they used back then. It's so abstract. I have no idea what it's supposed to be. But yeah, that's what it is. And boom, I got blown up. So yeah, I said I wouldn't commentate too much about what's going on, but come on, you gotta acknowledge the fact that there's footage. Although, if I don't do that, I could literally record these without even having the game footage done and just slot the audio on top of any random footage. But I wouldn't do that. That would feel a little bit too cheap. So let's just move on to my first talking point. I will have the talking points prepared beforehand. I don't want to just be umming the entire fucking video. Test Drive Unlimited. This game, it's really grown on me. Okay, so actually, I played the second one. I played Test Drive Unlimited 2 first. It looked pretty. It had lots of content. I didn't really get into it. Primarily because the progression just felt really slow, and the driving was just so fucking floaty. What's up with eating games just almost never knowing how to program proper, solid feeling driving physics? I'm not saying that they've never programmed good driving physics. So, you know, I've enjoyed the likes of Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed on PS1. I'm going to talk about the PC version, though, later in this video. But no, it's fine. It's a lot more arcadey, and I think the V-Rally games were similar, but Eden seems to just have some sort of what's the word? They're just not able to make cars feel like they're on the ground, except for Test Drive Unlimited. Actually, maybe some other obscure late 90s, early 2000s racing game I'm not super familiar with. I'm not sure. Did they? No. Test Drive Le Mans and / Le Mans 24 Hours. That was two different devs. That was Technics. Yeah. So I guess of course the Hot Wheels Beat That video I did had like a clickbait thing. 'Cause I know that's not their best. It's not their only game that's playable. They're not only known for the Ride to Hell for that Ride to Hell game. It's like, no, they have games that are competent pieces of programming. Again, I imagine it's because most of the staff left. That's usually what happens. Like, you can't explain, there's no other way to explain such a massive drop in quality other than maybe some budgetary reason, whatever, game industry shit. I'm not really want to talk about that kind of stuff. But yeah, so when I started playing Test Drive Unlimited 1, first thing that hit me was the driving is actually pretty good. It's weighty. The gravity when you get airborne feels a bit much, like you come back down a little too quickly. But that's a minor thing. You're not really supposed to be going airborne in most racing games anyway. But what really makes the game great, you know, the driving is fine. But I think everyone can agree, really, and this was going to be my main point. What really drew me in was first of all, the sense of scale. It's a freaking massive map, and actually, let me talk about that for a second. What especially impressed me about the map was its variety, despite the fact that it really is just one big, samey location. And yet, thanks to the use of landmarks and different sorts of road layouts, every part of the map feels very different. Genuinely different. I can recognize them as different sections of the same world, and there's a character, there's personality to every part of the map, which is really, really impressive, not only for the time and the fact that it was actually a console game initially, although obviously the PC port is relatively impressive. It has some really bad VSync issues. Like when I first loaded the game up, I saw my GPU going to like fucking 50%, and I was like, excuse me, I know I'm Eastern European, but come on, my GPU ain't that shit to run a game from 2006 at that level of utilization. No, it turns out the game just doesn't have VSync, or at least it doesn't work, because when I opened up RTSS to limit the game to 60 FPS, instantly the numbers went back down on like my GPU utilization. I was like, it calmed down. And then I disabled it, but I kept the visualization of the FPS on, where you can see your frames. And it was like 300 FPS, 400 FPS. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Now that makes a lot more sense as to why I was, freaking throttling my GPU like that. I don't know, is throttling the right word for that? That's more of a heating thing. Well, it wasn't overheating, that's good. But generally, I don't like it working, more than it has to. Okay, aside from that, though, I am generally happy with the PC port, considering that, that was still 2007, which is sort of already in my head at least, fucking 22-year-old boomer. It was sort of still the modern era where PC games generally work on modern Windows. That's sort of what I mean in terms of compatibility. Like, you go back to Windows XP, 75% chance they'll work. Go back to 98, you're fucking lucky if you get them to boot. And then run at a decent frame rate in hardware rendering. They might just default to some sort of software rendering, but whatever. The fact that it has full mouse support and stuff in the menus is pretty cool. So yeah, a decent PC port. But what about the game, though? So I already mentioned that the sense of scale is great, and it's just that the progression, I feel, is... I'm not sure if it's good. If you were to look at it like some fucking, review type YouTuber like me a couple months ago. But really, no, I try not to be too critical because it's just fucking games. It's fun, you know. I don't. Basically, the objective, quote unquote, the objective issue with Test Drive Unlimited's progression that I found, which I don't think many people have mentioned actually in a lot of the reviews I've seen, is the fact that it's ridiculously exploitable. There's this one event, this very early game event, where you're required to hit 140 miles an hour, or the equivalent in kilometers, on this windy road. And that would be difficult, except you can just turn around and take the straight path right behind you and do it effortlessly in basically any car you have. What I did was I just grinded that event until I got like, initially I got myself a Jaguar XK220, I believe it was called, on my old save. On my current save, I got like a Ferrari F... Ah, damn it. I'm going to say it wrong. It's not F330. No. I think it was F430. Whatever. It's my dream Ferrari. I don't really have a dream car because I think that's kind of stupid, but I had a toy of it when I was a kid, and I always thought it was really, really pretty. I had a bunch of the little Ferraris when I was a kid, but that one is just oh, it's so gorgeous. It's such a good looking car. It's aged so damn well. Yeah, and I got that, and easy peasy, right? And you get like freaking 10 grand every 30 seconds. That's 20 grand every minute. So you can do some math there and realize that's a lot. And then, right, if that wasn't bad enough, just a couple tiers, I guess, just a few more hours later, you unlock this other event where you got to hit 175 miles an hour through traffic going the opposite way, but you can just cross over to the other side where the traffic is going normally. It's going with you, not against you. So you can just do that and just get so much easy money. It's ridiculous. Not to mention the game also has a lot of other methods of gaining money, like those events where you gotta like drive these expensive cars around and stuff, not damaging them too much, obviously. And yeah, that's it's great, actually. I think it's really fun that you can just break the economy because you can just go ahead and, you know, buy all the fancy schmancy cars, because it actually doesn't guarantee that you'll do all that well. It's not like it breaks the difficulty scaling, because some events can still be challenging, not just because of the AI, but because of the stipulations. Like, a lot of events will have this driving meter off to the side. If it depletes, you know, because you drive like an asshole, and, well, no, funnily enough, only collisions with traffic count. Collisions against your opponents, they don't count. You can friggin' ram into them all you want. It doesn't matter. That's such an oversight. I can't believe, but, you know, I'm not complaining, I guess. There's nothing worse than like being right at the end and just all of a sudden you hit a tiny little patch of grass and that's it. But my point still stands. What I'm trying to say is that Test Drive Unlimited is really fun, even though it's not the most polished. It's not even the best looking game of its time. That doesn't really matter too much, but still. And I like how you can have a custom soundtrack and stuff. But essentially, it's a fun grind. It's really relaxing. Just something to have some. You can just have some noise in the background, like one of these videos. Ka-ching. I think I don't make money off of these. This is what a YouTuber would like say, ka-ching, or like put a clip. Anyway, let's just move on to Porsche Unleashed, because I really don't want to leave like a cliffhanger. Yeah, a cliffhanger for one of these. Yeah, whatever. Here's the thing, right? Porsche Unleashed, I was straight up wrong about it when I did my video almost, oh my god, it's like a year ago, or a year or two ago. My Need for Speed retrospective, you probably didn't see it. But, yeah, I don't agree with myself. It actually, the driving is fun. The driving is heavy, but very rewarding. I think it's because, I don't know, I guess I've just gotten a taste for it better. I still love arcade driving, obviously. But that driving model in Porsche Unleashed, it really does reward patience and mastery. And I love how car upgrades genuinely make a difference. It's not just some, hey, you go a little faster. No, it's like, it makes the difference between being able to drive the car or not. It can be a little overly punishing at times, but most of the time it's just your fault because you just went into that corner way too fast. Oh, and also, the art direction, I just cannot get enough of it. It's clean, but also dated, but in a really good way. There's something about, god damn it, the soundtrack. It's the soundtrack. It's insane. The production on it just sounds massive, and yet it's not in your face. It's not too loud. It's not obnoxious. It's really tastefully done. God damn it, Saki Kasuke's. He passed away quite a few years ago, but man, that was an incredible sound. And also Ramen Prisco as well. Incredible soundtrack, and it really lends to that sort of, you know, year 2000 atmosphere, which you'll hear me talking about in a future video that's more, I guess, traditional. I kind of hope for this to become traditional. You know, I plan on this being my main thing for a while, but I've still got one more regular, you know, review type video left to upload, and also this April Fool's video I've got that I actually finished recently. You're not going to see it till then, obviously. But yeah, hold on. Let's just finish my thoughts about Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed before we end it. And my last point is that I really miss when games used to use actual textures for stuff in the environment instead of, because obviously nowadays we can just render everything in real time, but man, there's just a certain look to Porsche Unleashed. You know what? Maybe I'll play some footage here instead of just having the freaking menu spin around. I might just play some footage of Porsche Unleashed over this, just to really get my point across. I really miss how they used to look, these kind of games, because you really can't, at least not now, you can't replicate a real thing that exists in the real world totally perfectly. And yes, obviously using a flat texture, a photo of, especially if it's not super high resolution, of something from the real world, it can look kind of corny, but at speeds and at the right angle with the right lighting, it can look really convincing. There's just a look to that sort of stuff. You know, I've been playing recently been playing also Counter-Strike 1.6 again, and I've actually been I realized that it's pretty damn fun. I guess you just got to be a little bit older. No wonder when you're a kid, all of the older kids play Counter-Strike while you're playing, well, whatever game, depending on your generation, obviously. But Counter-Strike is eternal. No. But really, yeah, it really does take a little bit of patience to appreciate it. And that game has that same sort of look where a lot of things are just photos. And I really wouldn't have it any other way. I understand that we're getting really, really close to like super realistic real-time rendering, but man, it's a different look. And I appreciate it. And I'm glad that there's still a bunch of indie games and stuff which sort of retain that aesthetic to a certain extent. Not necessarily stuff like Dust or, what was it, H-Rot. No, I don't think they do it that much, but still, it's sort of got that same energy. And I don't know, I'm just rambling at this point about about old texturing methods, but really that is something that interests me. And actually, I'm totally going to talk about just the source engine, the gold source engine specifically. That's going to be the next thing I talk about for part 3. Well, no, actually, I was going to say the first half of part 3, but no, I'm probably just going to have it be the whole thing because it's going to be a shorter part. I'm only going to showcase 2 races because 2 of the races that I would have to show duplicate each other. So there's no real point in being redundant visually. I'd rather just show you guys, you know, the RM test track and then RM Sludge Works in its final incarnation, quote unquote, you know, with the Twin Mill Challenge. So I think that's how I'm going to end this part, you know, with footage of a completely different game. But hey, you know, I'm out of freaking Hot Wheels footage for this part. Might as well show you guys the game I'm talking about. I guess that makes sense. We're going to go back to Hot Wheels, obviously, and I think I might talk about the actual track design and stuff for a little bit longer with the next part, and I'll see you guys then. I really hope you enjoyed this second, you know, episode of Vivid Noise, and yeah, till next time.